Hello and welcome back to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle. For our first guest today we have Deb Stathis, who's a personal and professional success coach, and she's here today to talk to us about steps to success. Welcome, Deb.
Thank you. Thanks, Linda.
So you talk about going from trauma to opportunities.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Absolutely. So trauma provides us with a unique position where we can actually create opportunities. And what we do there is we shift our focus to look at the lesson, what we've learnt within that experience of trauma, challenge, adversity, stress as well. And then what we can do is we shift our focus to that lesson, what we've learnt, and we then choose to use the knowledge that we have gained there to improve ourselves and our life. I actually call this a tragic opportunity. So the tragedy is the stress, challenge, emotions, pain, experience. The opportunity comes from how we choose to focus on the learning and improve ourselves and our life.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Can you tell us a bit more then about from there going with some of those steps that you talk about?
Oh, absolutely. Creating, like I said, what I call a tragic opportunity is a two-step process. So we start off with personal assessment. So personal assessment is a review of ourself, our beliefs, our behaviours and our emotions. And the aim is to develop a deeper understanding into ourself and into our trauma and our challenges and the way we have interpreted them in order to then shift our perspective for the better and learn about ourselves. The next step is the action plan, which is key. So the action plan is then taking the knowledge that we gain in personal assessment and using that to improve ourselves, make better decisions and choices and improve all areas of our life.
Okay, what would be an example of something, for instance, that comes up in daily life that you could say this is how I can look at it differently? Or
it actually comes up every single day. And I create tragic opportunities for myself all the time when I'm particularly getting very stressed out, perhaps with trying to juggle everything. I'm a mum of 2 young children, and it can be really hard sometimes to just get out of the door, and you've got 2 screaming children and you've got to get to a meeting on time, you've maybe forgotten your briefcase or whatever it is. And it's easy to think, oh God, nothing ever goes my way. Or you can flip and say, okay, this feeling right now, what is it doing? Is it giving me the opportunity to think about why I'm acting this way? What is it that is making me so frantic? Is it the sound of the children? Like for myself, I've been through a lot of trauma, so sometimes a lot of loud noises when my children get very frantic actually sparks a bit of the PTSD. So for me, I need to stop for a moment and take that opportunity to grow and say, they're children. This is not noise that is negative. This is positive noise. Actually, they're beautiful, fun children. If I run with this, I'll actually get out of the door quicker. So the opportunity is to get them on board, learn about why I'm getting frantic in that scenario, and actually improve the environment and get out the door happily instead of frantically.
How can we have, for the viewers, what could they do in their daily lives to create success from trauma, as you talk about?
What's really important is self-reflection and thinking about how and why we do things, and that's where the two-step process comes in. So when we're faced with a challenge, stress, trauma, taking that time to sit and reflect on why we made certain decisions and why we feel the way we do in certain situations enables us to gain incredible insight into ourselves and into how and why we do things. By doing so, we can identify what serves us and what doesn't. This then enables us to make better decisions for ourselves, for our life, to improve our relationships, because we understand where perhaps we don't have the most empowered perspective, or perhaps our perspective has been warped due to stress, trauma, our previous experiences, childhood, etc. So we can really use that knowledge to change every day of our life and every aspect of our life.
For our viewers out there, how would people apply this in their life? What would be the top tip that you would suggest to them?
The top tip is taking action. So we can do as much personal development and assessment as we like, and that's great. However, if we don't take action, if we don't change things that we do every single day, and actively work on ourselves and change our perspective, nothing will change in our life. So what it's really important to remember is that it doesn't really matter, for lack of a better way of saying it, what's happened in our childhood or what trauma and stress we've had. We actually can be empowered to change that and have a happy and fulfilled future by taking action to change how we behave every day and the way we view life by using the knowledge that we gain by looking into ourselves.
Oh, thanks so much, Deb, for that.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. And for more information on Deb's status and steps to success, please go to our website healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. Now we'll go to break, and after the break we'll be back with more wonderful topics to share. Welcome back. And now we have Mark Carazzo, business consultant and coach, and continuing the series on positive psychology. Today we're talking about positive emotions. And over to Mark. Mark, why is that important? Why are they important?
Well, Linda, they're very important, but before I get into that, I'd just like to give a bit of an outline of the most common positive emotions we deal with every day, and they would be things like serenity, awe, inspiration, curiosity, hope, pride, gratitude, love. They're all the things that we love to hear and we love to want more of. So I suppose the question of why they're important, firstly they make us feel good. Nobody can have enough positive feelings. But what we've learned is that more positive emotions in our life actually dial up the learning centres in our brain. And this really means that we see life from a broader perspective, we can see opportunity, and we can accept what other people are saying. Negative emotions, things like fear, tend to lead us into a very negative form of behaviour like flight, or sadness into withdrawal. But we know now that positive emotions are broadening, and this has been given to us through effective brain imaging science as well as eye tracking science. So you can see that if we want to be the best form of ourselves, we need to try and experience as many positive emotions as possible, and certainly more positive emotions on a regular basis than negative. It also has been shown from a study called the Nun study that positive emotions lead to longevity. About 200 nuns in 1930, upon entering a convent, did a bit of an autobiographical study on what they were hoping to get out of life in the convent. Now, 6 decades later, scientists tried to take that writing to try and anticipate what in that writing could indicate how long those particular nuns would live for. And it wasn't the intelligence evidenced by their writing which showed how that long they would live for. It wasn't where they lived, it was more a question of how many positive emotions, how much happiness was shown in their particular writing. So I think that's very important. Positive emotions lead to longevity. It is also a buffer, a protective resilience against difficult times. And we also know, I think curiously now, is that people that experience positive emotions tend to have a more coherent and smooth heart activity, which is very important.
Oh, okay. And how would you say then, how could people incorporate more positive emotions into their lives?
I think the first thing to do is look at things that we already have in our lives, particularly even the small things, and be grateful for them. So I suggest that people practice regularly gratitude journaling, or practice gratitude in their everyday life, find something to be thankful for. That of itself is a positive emotion. It's gratitude, it's also things like serenity, it brings awe, it brings curiosity. So gratitude is very important. I think the other thing we can do is savour pleasant experiences that we have in our life. We tend to jump from one good thing to the next and forget what we've been through. So it's a concept known as savouring or replaying. Something, for instance, from your past holiday within 6 months, live through how you felt that day, the emotions that you were feeling, the positive sense. You're basically reproducing something for which you've already experienced. So I think that's, to clear ways to do it. The other thing I really strongly advocate is meditation. It's a word which is confusing to a lot of people, but just finding something small, normally associated with nature, that you can focus on, calm yourself down, focus on that piece of nature, and try and keep the mind still is a great way, the research says, of bringing positive emotions into our life.
So important. And what about the workplace then?
Well, the workplace is a place where we spend a lot of our time. We spend 8 hours a day there, and yes, it can be a place for positive emotions. When you think about it, pride in your work, you can be inspired by other people, you can be in awe of other people. It's a place where relationships are very important to us, so there's even possibility of love. And when I say love, I don't necessarily mean love in the romantic sense. I mean love in a sense where we have mutual care for people, we share positive emotions with them. So the workplace is very important. The other thing to really note about the workplace is the concept of contagion, which basically really dictates that our moods and emotions are highly transferable to others. So we can pick up positive emotions from others, and importantly, I think we can share and give positive emotions to people that we work with.
Mark, would some positive emotions be more important than others?
It's a very individual question to ask that. I think they're all important. There's two that personally stick out for me. One of them is gratitude. Because we're so ambitious and because we're prone to sort of negativity, I think it's very important to rebalance our life, get into the present moment, is to look at what we've got on a regular basis and be thankful for it. And that unleashes a whole lot of positive emotions in our lives. So for me, gratitude is one. The other one is love. And I'm not saying love in the romantic sense. I'm saying love in moments of mutual care, in sharing of positive emotions with many people during our day and our friends. It's proven to be very important. We're seeing some good evidence showing that love helps us to have smooth, coherent heart patterns, and really is very valuable to our health.
And what about some hints for our viewers? What would be some final hints on experiencing positive emotions?
Well, do something that you love and you enjoy. Go out into nature, I think particularly, and not only experience positive emotions, but tell yourself you're experiencing positive emotions, so that moment is not lost on you, whether you say it outwards or whether you say it inwards. So that would be a key one. I think meditation is very important, as I've said before. And the other thing I think we should realise in this modern world, we tend to all carry mobile phones, and we really have seen them in some cases as a necessary item that accompanies us. It can be used for positive emotions. All of us have photos in there. All of us can create slideshows of our recent holidays. All of us can take a photo of nature. So I'd say there's 3 tips for you.
Thank you so much, Mark. For more information on Mark Corazzo, then please go to our website healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au, talking about positive psychology. And now we'll go to break. Welcome back, and now we have George Gentilis, who's a somatic psychotherapist, and is here today to talk to us about how we heal. Well, George, how do we heal?
Well, how do we heal? That's a great question. It's an exciting question because what we've discovered over the last 20, 30 years, especially in the time that I've been practicing, is just phenomenal with the neuroscience that's come out and all the major developments in mindfulness and attachment theory. It's just phenomenal with what we can see within the body now that tells us what actually causes disease and problems and habits that we can't break, and where we feel blocked and where performances drop, and when you get anxiety and depression and trauma and the effect of car accidents and operations, all sorts of things that affect us. We now know a lot more than we ever did on how to actually go about getting inside, getting in there, working through the issues, healing them Yeah, so without having to take a pill for everything and for any disease or any problem that you find within your own body, or habitual issues that you might have. It could be relationship issues, it could be developmental issues from childhood, it could be habits, all sorts of things, that anxieties, depressions, times when you're down, insomnia, when you can't sleep, all sorts of fears and phobias. A lot of those now can actually be healed very quickly, and you can do it yourself. You can basically do it yourself just by going in within your own body, contacting the cells of your body, staying with them, and then your body will start to heal them. And what we know is that the makeup of the body is basically in your brain. You've got 3 brains. We've been brought up in school to work with the intellect, that top brain, and that's great. It has its value, but it's also limited because there's a lot more to our body and our nervous system where our anxieties are stored, which is what we call the subconscious, the part of you they're not even aware of, and we need to be able to access that. And we've got great ways now to access it, and which is why I love mindfulness. That's taken off now the last 10, 20 years, and a lot of the MRI scans and all the great scans that are coming out now to actually prove that when you're in that mindful state, close your eyes, go within, you can actually heal a lot of things. And even as we're talking now, and even as you're looking at me now, your brain's actually rewiring itself. We now know that. Yeah, it's just phenomenal. We used to think, oh, maybe it only happens when you're asleep or occasionally, and maybe it gets less and less and it gets fixed as you get older. Not the case at all. Not the case at all. It's your brain is totally plastic, and you can change anything at any age, at any time. So age is, we're redefining age. There's nothing that says you have to actually age as you get older. You only age is because of diseases and things you haven't dealt with, issues you haven't dealt with in yourself, you've just buried, and we bury a lot of things within our own body, and even when you think you've resolved them, you've actually buried them. You think you've resolved them, and you've resolved them at that top brain, the intellect level, and then you get on with your life, and then you wonder why you start feeling heavier, and then you start reacting to things, and then diseases pop up. Then you need a pill, and then you need all sorts of things, and sick leave, and you lose friends, and issues start to happen. Why? And relationships break up. That happens a lot. Why does that happen? Because there's issues in your body, within the cells of your body, within those 2 lower brains, I'll talk about in a minute, that actually stop you from fully healing. So at the intellect level's great, where you can change your thinking, and reading books, talking to people, listening to this program. We're using our intellect right now. But if you learn to mindfully process yourself at a body mindfulness state, where actually you close your eyes, go in a little bit deeper than just the thinking, then you start to access that deeper part of you. And then there's the feeling brain, which then starts to be accessed, which is your emotional state. We know a lot of our emotions are centered around there, and they flow through your whole nervous system in your body. You can't ignore your emotions. A lot of people can. If people think, oh, yeah, I'll just block them off and get on with my life. No, I'm fine now. But really you're not. You've actually denied them and you've blocked them off, and then you feel it in your body. It becomes pressure. And then over the years, that pressure builds and builds and builds, and it stacks up on itself. All those cells in your body will pack in. And then if they don't get oxygen, they don't get blood flow, they don't get even life energy from yourself, that's when it gets diseased. That's when it starts reacting, because it becomes literally a mind of its own. This part in your body and in your brain, related to your body, you pack it in, you think you're fine, but then one day something goes wrong. And really what you want to do is prevent that. Take time each day, go within yourself, find where you feel those compressed parts, the parts that you think you've resolved, they're actually there in your body, which is why I highly recommend mindfulness-based meditation, where you go into your body, stay with it, take time out to learn how to stop, close your eyes, do that each day, and then you'll start to realise what's actually going on. And you start to realise the landscape of your body and how it's linked to the issues in your brain and the 2 lower brains that are stopping you from being more of who you can be, being fully realised, fully authentic, fully happy, joyous, peace of mind, all that, and even feeling love for yourself and the world. You've got that within you. But because of things that happen in our lives, that starts to get blocked off. We push it down, thinking, well, we'll get around to it, I'll take a pill for that and suppress it. And it doesn't go, and that builds. So we really want to be able to take time out, feel yourself, go within yourself.
Just for our viewers, would you have an example in a case study or someone this has worked well for?
Yeah, even personally, I know of one person who couldn't get on a plane, for years, and his wife would love to have gone holidays with him, and just for whatever reason, I mean, there was a deep trauma there. I'd imagine, as we did find out eventually, there's always some trauma there underneath. Imagine if you can't get on a plane for decades and you can't move out of your home, and all of a sudden, if you started to do the mindfulness meditation, went into their body, and all the stuff that was there suppressed started to come out gently and release a little bit at a time. Emotions, old tensions, and even that lower brain of the sensory motor brain, or the physical release of the body, that fight-flight response. And no problem now at all. Get on planes, not an issue. And I can't even believe that they're able to do that, because it's just, they're finding it hard to believe that they can actually go and do something they could never do for decades. So,
well, maybe, George, could you come back and talk to us more about healing those traumas next time?
yeah, I'd love to.
That'd be fabulous.
Yeah.
And for now, we'll say bye-bye and we'll see you next week.